Hello everyone. Hello everyone. I'm Trixie, and we are pleased to welcome you to this session uh, of introduction to blockchain development. So let me introduce you, Mr. Bandara, the founder and CEO of Blue Chip Tech Inc. So our company is present in Singapore, Hong Kong, Colombo, London, and Delaware. So I just wanted to mention that this session is recorded, and I will let Mr. Bandara start.
Hello everyone, welcome everyone on behalf of New York Emerging Tech Meetup Group. So we have over 200 registrations today, and there were around 40 in the waitlist. So we are expecting a few more participants to today's session because there's a full everyone is registered, over 200 registrations, and our group now is over 300. So in the main idea behind this group is to create awareness and talk about new technologies, emerging technologies, and give you hands-on experience like how to work on these specific technologies. So we are looking at the blockchain is one area, but the gaming side, then AI side. So likewise, 5G, different technologies we are looking at, and how to practically apply these technologies and how to create solutions on these technologies. So that is the main idea behind this group, and we are planning to bring workshops and sessions every month. So at least every month, or it will be twice a month, like something like that setup. So we are looking for collaboration with other startups, other companies and partners to bring you more valuable content into this meetup. So in today's specific session, we are going to look at introduction to blockchain development. So where we look at how we can work with the blockchain technology and how we can use different technology stack to create applications. So in the today's session, focus in that, and we are also going to look at the different tools associated with that. What are the tools you need to build a blockchain applications? So we are going to look at all this in this today's meetup. So as I mentioned, every month we are planning to bring new topics into this meetup, and also we're looking to collaborate with different companies, partners, and startups to bring you a lot of new innovative ideas and products and the development techniques and tools. So in today's session, focus on the blockchain development. We are going to look at how we can create blockchain applications. So I think everyone here is familiar a little bit about the blockchain, but here we in this session, we are going to focus on the blockchain itself and how you can develop application into that. So what are the programming languages you need to know, and what are the tools you need to use to create application into the blockchain. So we are going to look at that in detail in this session. And if you have any questions, you can post in the chat box, and also you can unmute yourself and you can ask within the session. So what is blockchain? So blockchain is a distributed database where the records are distributed among the world. So there's no centralized person using, there's no centralized location in the blockchain. It is distributed among the blockchain network. So there are certain different type of blockchain networks. Ethereum is one of the main. Then other than that, we have a lot of other like Binance Chain, Tron. Likewise, a lot of new blockchain networks are there. So depending on the blockchain network, we can build applications, and there are certain applications are running on the blockchain. So the very first one become Bitcoin. So the Bitcoin side, we know, is only the financial side, but the Ethereum comes in as a second main blockchain technology, and where the advantage is as a developers, we can build application on top of that. So we can create our own like NFT application. So we can create a exchange, we can create our own coins, or we can create a like now really popular metaverse kind of application. So all these applications we can build on top of this blockchain network. So that is the main idea in this session. So how you can create your own applications, what are the tools and technologies needed to build these applications. I think maybe you have used these applications in different scenarios using different cryptocurrencies. So here we are going to look at in this session how you can build an application like this. What are the things you need to familiar in order to create application? So first, we are going to look at some of the key the application use cases, and we are going to then build and see what are the applications that we can create and what are the programming language you need to know in order to create these applications. So Bitcoin is the most famous blockchain application, but in that network, we can only use to trading Bitcoin. We cannot do anything else, but that's where the Ethereum comes in. So the Ethereum, we can build our own application. That's why you can see application like OpenSea, one of the biggest NFT platform, where we can like create NFT. So likewise, there are many platforms that's out there with the Ethereum network. Similarly, in the Binance side, we have the Binance chain where we can create our own application, and now we can deploy that. Then the customers or the consumers can use this application for their usage, right? So then we look at some of the use cases. So the main use case in the blockchain is the financial sector, where it can use for a lot of financial application. There's an entirely different set of framework is there, like called DeFi, decentralized finance. So in the decentralized finance side, we don't need to directly use like an intermediary. We can directly provide these financial services to the consumer. So consumer can directly use these financial elements using DeFi technique. Then they can build financial applications, right? So we can build financial applications and we can provide these services directly to the consumer using blockchain. So you can search the keyword called DeFi, DEFI, decentralized finance, where there are a lot of financial related applications are building on top of different blockchain networks. So the Ethereum become one, but other than Ethereum, we have a lot of other blockchain networks that is using this technique. So using that, we can easily create this financial network, and we can use that in our consumers can use that using their cryptocurrencies. Then governments using a lot of different, like in terms of document related verifications, transactions, like a lot of governments nowadays adapt this technology to use this in a different purposes. For example, the document verification, transaction of documents, how we can manage records like that. Then some other blockchain applications like for issuing stocks and bonds, insurance related applications, land registries, supply chain integrity, supply chain related activities. So for example, if you want to see in your supermarket, the item, where it came from, what is the origin of that item, we can use blockchain technology to verify that, right? So then you can see any purchase item in your supermarket, where it came from. So that is a supply chain. So there are a lot of startups working on this area, and there are a lot of innovations happening in this area as well because of this scenario. So it's a really good area because of the supply chain disruptions and everything that we are having these days. So blockchain become an essential part of that. So there's an enterprise side of things, and there's a consumer side of things. The consumer side, we can use the consumer facing applications like DeFi applications, Metaverse, really popular these days, NFT, those non-fungible tokens, so NFT applications. Then the enterprise side, we can use the for the managing like registries, then supply chain related use cases, identity verification system. So likewise, there are both sides of things, enterprise and the consumer side. So we can build both of applications, and we need to pick what is the network, blockchain network that we are going to use to develop. So Ethereum is one of the main popular network. Other than that, we have the blockchain networks like Binance, Tron, and there are other networks also. There are different popularity and differences among these different networks like Cardano, and there are new blockchain networks like Neo. So all these networks are there. So there are a lot of new features on these networks. For example, some networks are really high performance, like compared to other existing blockchain networks. So likewise, there are new features are there. So these are different networks that residing in the internet as a different blockchains. But now there are like a lot of interoperability. So one network can now talk to another network. You can see when you go into particular site, you can connect from either Binance, either Ethereum, likewise Cardano. So likewise, different blockchain networks have now interoperability. That means they can talk to each other. So how do blockchain works, right? So here you can see in this slide, it's operated on nodes connected via internet. So new block is validated and recorded in each node. So this is using a highly complex mathematical calculation to generate this node. So there's a fixed number of these nodes are there in the blockchain network. So yeah, for example, the Bitcoin itself, that blockchain, there are like certain more kind of nodes. Then after that, the capacity stops. Then only we can trade whatever we are having at the moment. That's the maximum amount that is there. So likewise, each network have a specific set of nodes that generated through a mathematical calculation. So that's why we need a lot of computation power. So that's why the things like blockchain mining getting really popular, because without mining, we cannot generate this node. So that's where the hardware component comes in. We need a lot of the electricity and the consumption power to generate these blockchain nodes. Once it's generated, it is there, and we can use that for our application. So it uses a lot of the electricity and things like that. That's why there are now innovation happening in for a lot of sustainable blockchain networks. That is less power consumption and things like that. Because if you look at Bitcoin, the power consumption itself is quite high. It's not green at all. It takes a lot of electricity power to generate a new Bitcoin. But now there are innovation happening in for new type of blockchains that is more greener, less power consumption as well. So you can see in this diagram how the validation happened. So it need to verify. So multiple parties need to verify a new block. So that's why when you create a record in the blockchain, no one can delete it. It is there permanently. In centralized kind of a system, the administrator or the system administrator can delete the record. There's a log of that, but they can delete the record. But in the blockchain, no one can delete the record. Even to create the record, everyone in the network need to validate. You can see the verification can in like this. So there need to be a validation to write the record, but there's no way to delete the record as well. So that's why it's used for a lot of verification related activities. So we can verify these identities, these kind of transactions much more easily, and it's reflecting everywhere. Everyone can see, no one can delete, right? And if you look at the security side of things, then the blockchain node used the high-end security of each node. So there's no like enough supercomputing power to bring down the entire blockchain network because of the complexity of the network. But there are some like ways that you can access, and there are cybersecurity side. You can look at those areas like accessing these different specific nodes and like that. There are like some vulnerabilities, but not to the entire blockchain network, because it uses a lot of computation power to create this blockchain network. So because of that, it becomes more secure kind of a environment. So blockchain mining, as I mentioned, is a process. So using this process, we can create a new kind of a blockchain node. So as a reward, you will get a coin. So the coin represents a certain USD currency, like certain value for that. So once you have a certain value, this blockchain network become more valuable, right? So if you look at the price of the Ethereum right now, you can see the Ethereum was USD. What's the price? So it's have a certain value, right? So if you say Ethereum was USD, so let me take the price right now. So it's 2,614 US dollars at the moment, right? So likewise, you can see there's a certain value for each of these currencies, right? So if there's a higher value, then there's a bigger valuation for the entire network, because one Ethereum coin is 2,600, then that means the total network could be in billions, right? Total value of the network is in billions, right? Ethereum total supply, total value, right, in billions. So that's how it's happened. So we have 18 million Ethereum, then you can maximum multiply by 2,600. So there's a question, can you explain what is a node again? So node is a one single element in the blockchain network. So blockchain is created with multiple set of nodes. Like we can see it's generating these blocks, and then blocks will create a specific node. So we are running our application inside this node, right? For example, in the Ethereum blockchain, they have a virtual machine inside this node. So where we can host our application, where we call as a smart contract into this node. right? So this smart contract is the particular set of instructions that we are giving, and in today's session we are going to write a couple of smart contracts so that can execute in this node. So the node become like a infrastructure, like a server kind of a way. In the web development we call as a server. Server space where we can host our application. So set of blocks create a node, right? So the node is a higher one, block is a smaller one. So with the mining, we'll create a specific block element, then set of blocks generate this node, right? In some technologies we call as a cluster. So this blockchain become a node of this so total set of elements, right? So with the mining, we cannot create we can create a one node at directly. We create block by block, right? 1 0 1 0 like step by step. So likewise, we create block by block to create a node, because creating a node take a lot of time in terms of mining. So that's why we first create a block by block, right? So then as a reward of that, you will get a coin, a cryptocurrency coin. So it's depend on the different value. So that's why you can see there's a different mining process, and different currencies have different values based on their different features. So that's why every currency coming nowadays have a different kind of elements, like they are providing different usage compared to other. Because of that, they are getting momentum in the industry. There's a question, with the mining you create a node, right? And node is used to various applications like finance. Yeah, so the node become an essential part, like a particular host infrastructure, then set of nodes create a blockchain network. So we will host our application inside the node, sometimes multiple nodes. So there are applications as in the question mentioned, finance, NFT, like that. That is correct. So within the node, we can host our application. So these applications are like NFT applications that's really popular these days, and again value in billions of dollars. So where you can, so if you go to OpenSea, I think many of you have used that. So let me show quickly this NFT marketplace, OpenSea. So this is Ethereum based NFT marketplace, and you can see these are some of the NFTs that is there, and you can see the value of that, right? So this particular one is $400, right? So there are, like, you can see this up to sale, and these are the purchase history like that. So you can see the OpenSea is a NFT marketplace, and there are like high value items are there, depend on the number of users and like number of activities, right? For example, this particular animation is $13,000. You can see this one in the OpenSea market. This is NFT, and this is stored in the Ethereum network. And in the Ethereum network, this technology, this company have created a platform called OpenSea. OpenSea is an NFT platform. So anyone can create their own like unique graphics, arts, and all these things, and they can host it in the OpenSea, and others can download it, or like others can purchase it. So here you can see this particular NFT here is 13,000 US dollars. So you need to pay $13,000 or 5 Ethereum to place a bid, and you can see the recent bids they have paid like this. Then you can own based on this. So there's a bidding and different technique, different Ethereum have, right? Right. Okay. Connect to a part of the node. Right. So what will there's a question, what will happen Solana once Ethereum 2 comes out? There's like a competition, then become behind like different Ethereum networks, different blockchain networks. So each of these blockchain networks have different identity and different things. So the good thing in the Ethereum is the first to come to this environment, and then they are providing a lot of credibility and support and ecosystem support. But the price also required high in the Ethereum network. You can see 2,000 or 2,000 US dollars. So as like a beginner or hobbyist or individual, you need to spend a lot of time, a lot of money to actually host your application. So that's why people are going into other blockchain networks. There are new networks like Cardano, Solana, and all this. So that's where there are new innovation happen and all this, right? There's a question, what happened? Some of the questions are directly sent to me. That's why you cannot see in the chat. What's happened? The host computer goes down. Just the nodes go down as well. So no, there's no like a. It's not like that. So it's not like internet not going down. So likewise, this blockchain is residing in the internet. So in that, there's this interconnectivity between nodes. It automatically connect each other. So there's no way to like bring down application, not like a server. So because it's distributed among entire world in the blockchain network. So even like hackers cannot attack a particular blockchain network and bring down at once. They can only access information, but you cannot see. There's no way, no information, no news much about bringing down the entire network. But you hear sometimes the news about Azure, so like those cloud services also going down for a certain period of time. But blockchain network you cannot bring down because it's distributed, and the way it's connected is running in the internet. So that's right. So there's no particular place that's is there. So it's all are connected. So there's a less chance of bringing down the blockchain once the block and everything's created. There's a core infrastructure is there, but it's distributed among multiple computers. It's because I think you may heard about the torrent technology, uTorrent and all this. So it's used a similar peer-to-peer kind of a technology earlier to build up, and now it's used the block and node technology to create a specific blockchain. So where it's distributed among the world in a lot of servers and networks. So there's no way to like to bring down directly, and that's why we didn't hear much about this network going down. Like you hear news about a particular server going down, or even there was recently disruption to AWS, where you cannot access Netflix and things like that. But you didn't hear news about blockchain network going down. But you hear news about some the security vulnerabilities and things like that. That is common for any kind of a network. So that is another reason. Okay. Then wallet. So wallet is a main kind of a point that you access this blockchain network. So wallet is like an actual wallet. We have a digital wallet. So Bitcoin was created like a consumer kind of a facing application initially, and like it was created in a way that like everyone can buy everyday items from Bitcoin. But now you can see Bitcoin is going a completely different path. You cannot buy a coffee or tea using Bitcoin because it's becoming really expensive coffee, right? So the current value Bitcoin is 29K. Sorry, it's in GPB, so it's around, I think, close to 40K. Let me get USD value. Yeah, 39K current value. So you cannot buy a coffee and tea with that, but it's initially created for purpose of that to replace general like a Visa, Master kind of transactions and USD based transaction to replace with that to consumer applications. There were initially like a lot of cards and debit cards, credit cards also created with Bitcoin to make that. But now with the gas price, the transaction price is quite high. You cannot use it for everyday kind of a transactions because of that reason. So it's quite a high. The coffee or tea becomes like quite a high price. But now it's considered as assets that you can have. There's certain tax profile out of it also. When you are having a certain number of Bitcoin, is considered as assets, not as a currency. When you want to, when you're having certain number of Bitcoins, when you want to like claim this kind of a number of Bitcoins, so it's considered as assets, like you're having owning a house or owning a like a property is considered like that when you own Bitcoin, because of the value, the changes in the market and the ups and downs is considered in that. But it was initially created for the financial, like everyday transactions and like that. That is original idea. But now the total value of Bitcoin becomes so huge that more people are buying Bitcoins. Because of that, it becomes really difficult to do a small transaction like getting a coffee or buying buying from supermarket, becoming super expensive if you use Bitcoin because of the transaction fee is higher. There's a question, will it replace the barcode technology? Is highly unlikely to replace the barcode technology because transaction fee is quite high, but it can use for a lot of verification, validation, and things like that. So there are a lot of applications in that. So where there are a lot of validation kind of things are happening. So you can use for those kind of validations specifically for that. Right. So the MetaMask is one of the applications that we can easily consume and connect to the network. So you can download this MetaMask client, and using this client, you can connect to a particular blockchain network, right? So MetaMask is a wallet, right? You can see in the MetaMask. So I'll show here. So you can see in the MetaMask here where you can work with the certain network. We can connect to a particular network and you can do the transactions here. So there are test network also here. So the test networks are useful because when you are building application, we need to test it out, right? When you are building application, we need to test it out whether this is working or not. So that's why we want to try it out. So that's why there's a test blockchain network. So there are some test networks like Ring-B, Coven, right, Rosquan. So likewise, these are different test networks that is out there. Using these test networks, what we can do is we can easily create these applications. Like we can easily create application and we can test in this test network, right? Then once everything's completed, we can host the application in the real network, right? Once everything completed, we can host the application in the real network. And the MetaMask mostly work with the Ethereum blockchain. When there are other particular wallets, like for the Binance, there's a Binance wallet, then Tron wallet. So likewise, these blockchain networks also comes with their own wallet technology that can easily used in the particular browsers, Chrome or any browser, where we can consume these applications, right? So when you're going into, let's say you go into OpenSea, when you want to purchase the one I showed you, then first you need to have a certain cryptocurrency. So you need to buy. So you need to buy, initially you need to, from US dollars, you need to convert into the cryptocurrency. Then you can convert from cryptocurrencies to another cryptocurrency, or you can use cryptocurrencies to purchase these different applications or services that is provided. Okay. So you can see these are some of the cryptocurrencies. All are based on different blockchain networks. These cryptocurrencies, the Binance becoming really popular these days with the Binance chain and the Binance the exchange. Then the Ethereum is there, Ripple. So likewise, there are new blockchain networks and the ecosystems coming in. So based on that, there are different technologies, right? So you can see, so in this, we look at mostly the development side, where what are the development languages you need to learn to create that, right? So now we'll go into that. What are the development tools that you need to get familiar with, and what are the development technologies that you need to go with? So in this particular session, we focus on Ethereum and what are the development tools behind that? What is the programming languages that is there to create that, right? So there are different kind of a technology stack they have created with the Ethereum. So Ethereum will become more kind of a popular blockchain these days, and it's a general purpose blockchain. That means we can build applications and we can deploy it into the Ethereum network. So you can see almost all the use cases I mentioned in the blockchain that can be created using Ethereum. So you can have a private blockchain and a public blockchain. So what is a private blockchain? Private blockchain is for organizations want to create enterprise applications for corporates, because all these things we can create as enterprise application, private application. Then it will not go outside the, it's not going to the public blockchain, because there's a private blockchain that we can create using the certain set of technologies within organization or within the network. You can create as a private blockchain. Then everyone using cryptocurrency, what is called a public blockchain. Public blockchain is everyone, is open for everyone. Everyone can submit application. Anyone can use it. It's quite open for everyone. Okay, so you can see the founder, right? He's a really rich person right now. He's quite a young guy. He's a kind of a co-founder and initially created. His father was doing Bitcoin trading, and he was looking at a problem like Bitcoin has, because Bitcoin doesn't had kind of a way to build application. It's only one application. We can buy Bitcoin, sell Bitcoin, that's it. But he have seen that problem, and he have initially created a white paper to solve that problem, and then after some time, so he managed to get his startups running and get some other partners, and he started the Ethereum. So with the Ethereum Foundation, now they have created a lot of other development tools and technologies, and he's becoming a billionaire automatically because of the value of the Ethereum network. And now you can see the bigger applications like exchanges, OpenSea, and everything running in Ethereum. People are using it. That's why there's a value for that. 2,600 US dollars for one Ethereum. So you can have millions, 18 million or more Ethereum nodes. So Ethereum. So then you can multiply and see the value, total value of Ethereum, and that it's automatically becoming a billionaire from that network, right? So because everyone can create application and deploy it. So he had actually enabled that feature, because initially the blockchain is not like that. You need to create your own blockchain network, and it's only one application, Bitcoin. But he had enabled that anyone can create application and publish it and make money or use for transactions. So OpenSea is like that. So the OpenSea, you can search who did that. So that particular company create that, and they can make money because everyone doing like using NFT is NFT marketplace. Then they use transactions and use that. From that, they will generate income, and people can trade NFTs using OpenSea. And likewise, there's now a lot of other platforms are there. So because of this innovation is enabled, now the other blockchain networks also following a similar way. So most of the new blockchain networks coming these days have this kind of a developer ecosystem. The people are developing application and publishing into the marketplace, into this, like we call as a DApp, decentralized application. So the steps are more like a publishing app to the mobile app, like Android or iOS. It's more like that. So we can create our application and we can deploy into the blockchain network. So the main the program we need to write using a smart contract. So a smart contract is one of the main program that we need to use to create application, right? So we look at how we can write a smart contract. So this is a specific set of techniques that we need to use to create this smart contract. So I think some of you are familiar with programming languages. So smart contract is a language specific technique. So the language is called Solidity, and there are other languages are there based on the different blockchain network. So using Solidity language, we can create a smart contract. So the smart contract defines how the particular blockchain or the particular application behaves, right? The set of instructions that we need to give, we can define in a smart contract. So for a particular application, there could be more than one smart contract based on the complexity and the application that you are going to develop. So the smart contract becomes mostly the backend side of things, where it connects to the blockchain directly. So smart contract can directly connect to the blockchain network, right? Then there are certain tools we can use to create this kind of a smart contract, right? So you can see Solidity is one of the main programming language. So Ethereum is the company and the organization initially found the Solidity SDK framework, everything together as a developer ecosystem. So Solidity becomes one of the main languages for smart contracts. But if you go to other blockchain networks, then you have other blockchain smart contract languages. It's adapted from Solidity, have a lot of similarity. So it's better to start from one place, and then you can move to other blockchain networks and you can learn about other smart contracts, and then you can build on top of those the blockchain applications as well. So there's a question, how does cryptocurrencies have specific use case? So most of them just like Bitcoin. So it depends. So each of these cryptocurrencies have a unique kind of a story behind that. For example, these cryptocurrencies have a different application side of things. So that's how they have coming into the market. So now it's not only for trading, it's more than trading. So any new currencies coming there who has a value, it's not only for trading. Mostly the Bitcoin is only for trading, but there's a certain ecosystem behind that. So some cryptocurrencies are popular with NFT marketplace, some cryptocurrencies popular with DeFi, decentralized finance. Now there are new currencies coming in with metaverse, those kind of applications. So likewise, so there's a certain kind of a use cases are coming in. Solidity is only language for smart contract programming? That's a really good question. So Solidity is not the only language for the smart contract programming. There are other languages are there, but the Solidity is one of the main languages that is there because Ethereum is mainly the second main technology that is out there. So you see that other companies, so other blockchain networks look at that and create different languages. So there are different languages are there, but what we are writing is a smart contract. If you are coming from programming side, you know, object-oriented programming, we call a class. So it's more like a class. Smart contract is more like a class because this language look at more like a C# and Java side. When the founder creating this platform and ecosystem, they look at the what are the existing programming languages. So they adapted these core concepts from C# and Java. Then they built on top of that to create this smart contract. So smart contract is more like a class in object-oriented programming, and class or in object-oriented programming can be written in multiple languages. We can write in C++, Java, C#, like many languages. So likewise, a smart contract can be also written in many languages, but not many, only like handful of languages out there, depend on the blockchain network, right? So the Ethereum used the Solidity.
Yeah, I hear it now through the
Okay.
Right. So then we have other languages as well. So depend on the certain blockchain technology. So let's look at how we can write our first Solidity contract. So there's a tool they have created on the web. So you can, we call as Remix browser, Remix, Ethereum Remix. So you can search and go to web all remix.ethereum.org. Let me copy that URL in the chat. Right. Let me copy that URL. So using this tool, we can write smart contract in our browser itself, right? In our browser itself, we can write smart contract, right? Here, like this. So this is remix.ethereum.org. It's completely free of charge. So this is the online editor the Ethereum company created to create and deploy blockchain applications. Yeah, there's a question. Can you deploy file with multiple contracts? Yeah, you can deploy multiple contracts in Remix as well. But the main, the good thing is like we can directly create and deploy application to the Ethereum blockchain using Remix. But the bad thing is you cannot deploy a solution like front end kind of a thing. I will show that later. So where some applications, you know, let's say OpenSea, there's an interface, user interface, like a website registration, user interface. Those kind of things we cannot create in this tool, but we can only create the backend, that means smart contract, and we can build the application and deploy it, right? So it's only part. Let's say you have ICO, like a coin kind of a smart contract, you can easily deploy from here. But let's say you have interface, user interface and front end, we call as a front end. So that is, you cannot directly import from here. There's another technique I will show after this. Here you can create a new smart contract like this, right? And you can, the extension of this is SOL, Solidity, right? So like this, we can create a Solidity file, SOL, right? So like, you know, there are certain extension for each of these different files programming, like C# you call CS, Python you call PY. So likewise, this one we have a Solidity. So here we create our first Solidity. So here we will write one example. So in this one, we will create like a student Solidity file. So we create that. So first line of the code will become how you can import, like what is the particular version. So there are different language versions are there for the Solidity. So we need to define that. So we can say using Pragma, right? Pragma Solidity. So here we can define what is the language version, right, of that, right? So here we have different versions of this language. There are some differences between these different language version. We can define that. So once you define the language version, we can create our contract. So we can say contract right? And we can give the name, right? Let's say we create a student contract, right? Student, right? Then this is a, because we can use real world kind of a scenarios we can apply into the blockchain, right? So then we can define those business cases, so the rules, right, into the smart contract. Then things like programming language, you know, you have variables, functions, and certain instructions that is come into place. So there are similar things here. So where we write a contract like this, right? Like this, we write a contract. We need to define the version and we write a contract. So in the contract, we can create some variables, right? We can create some variables to define the student, right? So we create a variable here, uint like this, 256, then public. So it's a public variable. Then we can create as a student count like this, 0, right? So then this is a variable we are creating. So like that, we can define these variables in a programming language. So if you are coming from a programming background, you might already familiar with this, but I think you are new to Solidity. So here like this, we can define these different variables into that. Then we create a second one. Second one is a specific one we call as mapping, right? Like this, where uint, we are going to map into a student data structure that we are going to create, which is a student structure like this. Then we can mention as this public, right? Public student group. Like this, right? Then we can create our structure, data structure. So we create a data structure called student. So student have a first name, last name, ID, and age. So student have a first name, last name, ID, and age, right? So likewise, you can define. It's up to you. It's completely open. So you can define your own set of elements for the student contract. Then we can create a function. So let's say a function called add student. So where we can add number of students into this particular smart contract. Then we'll create that. So I will copy and paste just to save some time. Right. So the student you can see here where we can add a particular student like this, first name, last name, age, and we can call the function called increment counter. So we will increase every time when you add a student by the number by 1. Then we have a student group that is set a particular set of student that we can define as a student group. Then the final function is the student count that we increment student count by 1 when we add a new student. So likewise, you can see it's more like writing a program like in a class in object-oriented programming. But what we are writing here is a smart contract. Then we can deploy this into the blockchain network, right? Then when we are deploying, there are certain options, like we can deploy to the real blockchain or test blockchain, because most of the applications we created, initially we don't deploy to the real blockchain because we need to test it out and see, right, whether it's working fine, if there's any bugs like that. You know, when you are developing applications, there could be bugs, right? Certain bugs and things like that. So we need to make sure that this doesn't have any bugs and issues like that. We need to make sure that this is working fine. So that's why we test it locally, and then only we deploy it into the main blockchain network, right? So here we create the student contract, we define a variable and student group, and we have a student structure and add student function where we add the student. So let's try to compile this. You can go to the second option, and here you can see the Solidity compiler, and we can compile this, right? So there's error here in this line. So let me check what is error. So you can see if there's error, you will get this message with the error line and code. So in the student group, I missed the semicolon. So you can see I need to put the semicolon here like this. So let's compile it. So now you can see it's only warning message. That means warnings are okay. You can continue. It's not an error. Then once it's compiled, you can go to deploy. So when you are deploying, you can see they are giving multiple options to deploy. Like even we can use Web3, and then we can connect to our. So here you can see connect to my this particular my own ROXFun test network. So you can deploy it from that as well. And also you can join the original blockchain network. That is really good in the final stage, but not the early stage. But here also they are providing some test Ethereum networks in the browser, which 100 ethers. These are test ethers, 100 ethers. You can see test accounts. We have the gas limit. And here you can see we have the test.sol. Now I can deploy this in the test network, right? Or you can deploy using inject. You can deploy in the real blockchain network as well, or you can deploy in the test network. So here you can see it's deployed like this. And then here you can see the deploy contract. Like, so I can interact now with the contract. See, I can add a student. I can get the student count. So you can see this is how we interact with the blockchain. So here the contract we have created now deployed into this address. You can see there's an address of that. It's deployed into that address. That means it's permanently written into the blockchain network. Since you are using test network, it written into the permanently into this test network. You can see the Ethereum also reduced. It was 100, it's 99% 9, like that, right? It's reduced, right? So now I can interact. So I can add name, right? So I can add a first name. Like this, I can add, right? Then I can create transact. Then you can see it's written into the blockchain network. It added the record. So how I can see? I can go to the student count. You can see it's increased by 1. See? So now we are interacting with the real blockchain application that is in the test network. We didn't deploy to real network, but you can deploy to real blockchain network as well. Test Ethereum or the actual Ethereum network. It's the same output you are going to get. There's no difference in the output. Only the network is different, because in actual network, you need to pay that gas fee amount in the dollar value to deploy it. But before that, you can test it out and you can see. So here you can see we interacting with that. So using smart contract, you can actually create this and deploy it into the blockchain network. But here you can see in this method, we need to enter from here, right? But the consumer facing application like customers, I showed you like OpenSea, where we don't have an interface like this, right? If you go to OpenSea, we don't have an interface like this, right? So you can see in the OpenSea, I will show. So here you can see, I can profile, like I can connect to my wallet, right? Like this, I can add the fund. So it connect to the blockchain network, add fund like this. So then it doesn't have an interface like this, right? Where we call this as a front end. That means a web interface, right? But behind this, there's a smart contracts. So this one is connected to the smart contract. Toward the smart contract, this is connecting to the blockchain network. So that is called a front end. So you need to use a different technology to create the front end side, because blockchain doesn't provide this user interface. It doesn't provide like the profile or like user pages, HTML, like these web pages doesn't provide. It only provide up to this, right? You can create a smart contract and you can connect to the blockchain network. It's provided up to this. But you most of the consumer facing applications, we have a front end side. So how to create that? So you need to use a technology, a front end technology. One of the main popular one these days is React. So you can use the React.js to create your front end technology. The Ethereum organization have provided a set of tools to do that as well. So let me quickly show this area as well. So they have created a truffle suite. So that means a set of frameworks to create this particular network, right? So here you can see, you can go to this truffle suite. So this is from the Ethereum organization. They have created a set of tools and frameworks to support this. So you can create a smart contract, and then you can even create a front end. You can connect a front end using this, right? And they have even created a local blockchain network as well, which is called Ganache, right? Using this, you can test out the blockchain network locally in your machine, right? Using Ganache tool, you can see it's a one-click blockchain. You will get a local blockchain network as well. So they have created this entire ecosystem for developers, right? So that is easiness. If you look at a new blockchain network, they doesn't have this much of technology stack there. So we need to then go through and see what is the available technology stack to build the application. So let me show the Ganesh software. So you can see here, this is running in my machine. So you can see there's the blocks are created, then transactions are there, logs are there, right? Account. So you can see you get a couple of different accounts, addresses like this, right? So it's running locally in your machine. So you get a local blockchain network that you can test it out locally without actually testing in the blockchain test network. So they have created an entire ecosystem. The Truffle is a one framework. So using that, you can create blockchain applications, and you can also create front end using React.js, right? So React.js is, I think some of you are maybe heard that React.js, React is actually from Facebook. They have created this front end technology. The React is for the web interface. React Native is for the mobile interface. So the React technology is a JavaScript package library that is used to create a web application. So we can use not only for blockchain, even a lot of web application these days built using React.js. So we can use the React.js technology and we can connect smart contracts. So there's a connecting point with the React.js with the smart contract using the Truffle framework. So that is also developed by the Ethereum Foundation. So you can see the technology, the blockchain network, the company or the organization who create this blockchain network, they need to also create the initial set of technology that is connecting for developers. Without their creating these interfaces, it's really difficult for us to create the certain application. So because as developers, we are going to build these applications into the blockchain network. So that's why there need to be certain SDKs, development kits, programming languages, and tools that is there, need to be there to create this application. So Ethereum becoming the initial technology, all this, they have created really good stable set of technology tools for us to use. But new frameworks, new blockchain networks also now coming up with their own set of technology frameworks, and these all are open source. That means you can see the similar kind of feature in all the blockchain networks out there, right? Similar smart contract languages, similar tools like this, you can find because all are open source. Anyone can use the source code and do the modifications, and they can use for their own kind of feature development. So that is why the final front end, connecting the front end part. We are looking to have that in another meetup. We'll go in detail and see how the front end side connected and how we can do more than how we can build a solution, what are the different ways that we can connect user interfaces with the blockchain network. But here in this session, you look at more fundamental things and then how you can write a smart contract like this and how you can deploy it. So here you can see we can build it and we can deploy it, right? So here you can see we call add student function, and I can then invoke the student count. So all are doing from this interface. That's why we need to use like a user-friendly interface. That is why we need to use like React-like technology to create that. So from that, you will get like OpenSea kind of application, right? So OpenSea is built, so we cannot exactly see what is the front-end technology they have used. Most probably, they might use the React technology, but that technology is connecting to the smart contract, and this running on the Ethereum network, right? That is OpenSea. So likewise, you can see a lot of applications these days based on different cryptocurrencies. That is how these applications are built into this network, because this OpenSea, you can see, is just hosted in a normal website, right? So you can just purchase the domain like this OpenSea.io. You can create your web application, but the data or the ownership and the actual, the authenticity, everything in the Ethereum network. So it's connected to the Ethereum network, but the front end or the website of things is hosted in a somewhere else, because in the blockchain network, you cannot host a website. You cannot host the React application or like that. You need to have a different hosting, like a normal web hosting to host front end. But without using a database, we connect the backend. We call, you have front end and backend. So the backend we connect to the Ethereum network in this case, and using smart contract. So smart contract is the connecting point with the web interface to the smart contract and into the application, right? If you have any questions, of course, you can ask. These are some of the tools that we can use to build our applications, right? If you have any questions, ask. We have a few more minutes before we wrap up the session. So these are the different tools that we need to familiar, that we need to go through and we need to learn, right? So this is Remix becoming one example where you can see in the Remix environment, you can see some sample contracts as well. You can follow through them and write how to write these smart contracts. And then here you can use the compile section, and here the deploy section. There's a two-step. One step is writing, then you need to compile it to check for errors, then you need to deploy it to find out. Then the Ethereum, they have created a lot of different technology stack on top of that. So that's why we have, you can see here the Remix URL. And also you can install the Solidity and other kind of technology space in that. There's a question, how does future looks like in this space? So it's like there's a lot of interest in this. You can see the total valuation of the blockchain itself is overpassing gold valuation, where a lot of people are investing into the blockchain network and the blockchain itself and the different cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin becoming number one and other infrastructures like Ethereum becoming number two, and then the new blockchains. So there's a huge potential in this, and there's another new area coming in with Web 3.0, where new type of web development going into a native blockchain side into the Web 3.0, right? So then the Meta side, there's a question in the Meta. So Meta is from Facebook, so they are going into the virtual like the space, right? Those area, the metaverse. The metaverse can run in both in blockchain network or without blockchain. So that at the moment Facebook doing the Facebook or the Meta company doing the metaverse, that is not in the blockchain, that is on their network. But let me show the blockchain, the metaverse running in the blockchain, which is a popular one called Decentraland. So Decentraland is again Ethereum based metaverse. That is, they have created this metaverse that you can purchase items and you can work through, and you can do a lot of actions in this Decentraland. So this is Ethereum based metaverse, and there are a couple more metaverses like this. So this is Facebook at the moment. They are doing not in the blockchain space. They are doing in their own using connecting their own Facebook accounts, because Facebook is not in the blockchain at the moment. They are doing like that, but there's a connecting point to the metaverse and the blockchain network. So this decentralized land is one of the number one. You can see the virtual items. So what is the amount of that? So you can go to the marketplace here, and you can see so what is the element. So they are a really expensive kind of a thing. So that means the people are buying it, these elements, right? So let's say, for example, this one, right? This is running in the Polygon network, right? So likewise, you can buy these items in this particular blockchain network. So this is getting really popular these days, right? Because of that reason, this is getting really popular. People are investing into these technologies, and individual also going into that, right? There are a lot of things are there, and there's a new Web 3.0 coming in, the new type of web development technology that is going to be native into the blockchain. So that is another boost into the blockchain network with Web 3.0. At the moment, we are using Web 2.0. So Web 3.0 becoming native the blockchain. Initially we have Web 1.0, then Web 2.0 had the companies like Facebook and new type of companies. The Web 3.0 more toward the blockchain enable kind of companies. Okay, so in the deployment contract, as I mentioned, there's a certain way we can deploy from the directly from the Remix browser, or we can directly from the tool set as well. There are different techniques we need to deploy into that. If you have any more questions, of course, you can ask. We are going to have regular meetings like this to share knowledge, and we also plan to bring other resource persons also to these sessions. So we are going to, since this is emerging technology meetup, we are going to discuss other emerging technologies as well, blockchain becoming one key technology. So we are looking at other technologies also. And also we are looking at more deep dive session into the blockchain as well, more developer focused kind of a session. They have a really interest among members. So today around 200 plus members registered and 40 on the wait list. So around 50 participants attended the session today. So if you have any questions, you can direct to us, you can write to us, you can ask. We are more than happy to help, and we will also share the session recording as well for you to look at later. It will be hosted in our YouTube, and we'll share that session recording in coming days into the meetup group. So everyone in the meetup group, we have 300 members, so everyone can look at that video. If you have any more questions, we can have another 1 to 2 minutes. You can ask before we winding up, and we are planning to have this kind of a session every month. Sometimes maybe twice a month. It will be giving a lot of good information, and we are focusing highly for the emerging technology. A lot of new things coming in. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to us. We are more than happy to help you in your journey. Okay. Any more questions you can ask? Like, we can wrap up the sessions. Otherwise, you can unmute your mic. You can ask, or you can ask in the chat box as well. Thank you so much for joining the session as well. If there's no further questions, we will wind up the session on time. Thank you so much, and hope to see you all soon again in our next meetup session. Thank you so much.